Episode 2 of the Four Lifters by Lifters podcast, and we have our longtime athlete Nikkiey Stott here, and she's going to tell us a little bit about what she's been doing with her Warrior Bay program, and obviously you can hear us rambling about bodybuilding in general. We'll talk about diets and a few other things.
What's up, everybody?
So I was going through your Instagram the other day. Like, you were posting like transformations. And I think like when you post them, like you post a ton of them, right? So like it's like there's 10 or 15 of them at a time. And I said to Danielle, I was like, I feel like it's one of those like Oprah memes where like you get abs, you get abs, you get abs, and like I don't mean any disrespect to any of your clients, but like some of them don't even. Like, you wouldn't ever expect them to have abs. And then you post up these transformation photos, and they're, like, ripped. And it's just, how did they get there?
Yo, legit. Sometimes I look at it, too, and I'm like, wait, I know there's muscle underneath of it. But then you get to that transformation, you're like, yup, it's there.
And the weirdest part is like, the woman, I mean, at least appears to be, maybe in her 40s. She might have a couple kids. Like, she's not, a 20-year-old that's, going to college part-time and has all this, time to work on her, on her physique. So it's just, I feel like it's almost like defying the odds a little bit. So.
Absolutely. I mean, that's a common thing that I hear. Yeah, I don't have enough time. But then you got the mom that shows up who's got 4 kids, and she's putting in the time and the effort. We all have the same 24 hours. So it's pretty amazing to see what they can do once they actually put their head to it and do the work.
But there has to be like a psychological reason why they're able to do it, right? And like, if you had to say, like the majority of your clients as far as like age range goes, what would you say that they were?
Like 35 to 50.
Okay. So you're taking women with, changing hormones who have already developed what we would say bad habits, really, as far as eating and lifestyle habits, right? As far as keeping busy and active. And you're taking them, kind of reshaping them and spitting them out with abs. Mm-hmm. Like, it's kind of crazy. Like, it is. It's not something that you see often. What's the first thing you start with? Like, is there like a system that you have? Like, of course there's a system, but like, is there anything that you start with in the beginning that just really, helps you identify what's going on and kind of set them on the right path?
Yeah, I would say I'm going to take it up to the VIP with the highest level coaching that I do. And I think it's more, we go through a one-on-one interaction. Like, I get to meet them virtually right now, and understand where they're at and what their goals are. But I think it's like employing the mindset that I expect and the standards that I expect from them that creates that like shift that they're going to be able to, like, they start, I mean, once we're done getting to know, like, their age, their height, and their weight, and being able to establish their macros and their programming that's specific to the goals that they have in mind, I let them know, like, yo, like, you're coming here with a goal. I'm going to, give you the tools and the resources to achieve that goal. It's up to me. I'm going to call you on the actions that you have and that are not in line with the goals that you want to reach.
So what's something that, like, if you're working with a 35 to 50-year-old woman, what are you seeing that's very common that's detrimental to, what they're trying to do?
Oh my God. All of the freaking diets that are out there. I mean, they think it's their fault that they can't achieve the goals, but it's really the million different things. They're on a fucking hamster wheel of like, what diet am I supposed to do?
So you think it's like, I guess that's considered like yo-yo dieting, right?
Absolutely.
Like, where you're jumping on one thing and then, that flatlines, you jump on another thing and that doesn't work, and you just keep bouncing.
Absolutely.
So you think like just consistency is
150,000%.
like that's kind of like
down.
it. Like,
yeah, they see one thing, they jump on it, they get results, they're 2 months in, and then they stop because it's either not sustainable or it's too realistic or life gets in the way, and then they find the next best thing or next thing that's out there and they jump on that, and it comes down to there's no consistency. Really, they just really should focus on one thing and just apply that consistency until they reach that specific goal, and then learn how to live it out afterwards, which nobody knows really how to do that.
Like actually enjoy a barbecue, and
exactly.
live like a normal human being.
Exactly.
Yeah. Well, I think it's really difficult when most women are afraid to eat, right? Mm-hmm. And younger women, I feel like they have more knowledge now, right? So like I would say girls that are 20 to 25, like they know that they need to eat now because it's been publicized for years. But older women are still stuck on the mentality that they need to eat lettuce and hope for the best. But now we know that damages the metabolism, and that long term it's just going to essentially create more fat and more problems.
Yep.
So what's really cool is when you have somebody that you pick up and maybe they're at like 1100 calories, almost what I would consider like a danger zone on calories, and you spend some time with them and they're able to eat 1400, 1500, 1600, and then they have a burger and a beer on the weekend and they look better on Monday.
Yep.
Like it's
really cool. It's really cool to see how they come in and they are in that calorie like deficit to the T. 1200 calories, and then you tell them to eat this much, and then there's a little like hesitation, and then they do it because they want the results, and then they get all the way up to, like you're saying, 1800, and they're like, oh my god, I never even knew this was possible.
So what are you doing as far as like diet goes? Are you doing like a system where you just do like high carb, low fat with moderate to high amount of protein? Are you doing like low carb dieting? Are you doing carb cycling? Like what are you like what do you typically send your clients out with from the start?
Yeah, so I figure out where they are, what their goals are, where they want to be, and then I figure out obviously their age, their height, and their weight. And I tend to lean more towards the higher carb first, and then moderate protein around body weight or a little bit less, and then moderate fats. So I want to see how they can respond with higher carbs, which is just an absolute mind-boggling thing for a lot of the women, because they're like, I'm supposed to eat this many carbs, and then they freak out. So yeah, more higher carbs at first, see how their body responds.
Yeah, I mean, so I do like recreational diet coaching. Like if I have a friend that comes to me and they're like, "Hey, can you help me?" Like I'll help them. And right now I have a buddy of mine's girlfriend, and I think when she first came to me, she was a little heavier. She just started CrossFit and she was eating like 1400 calories. And we've been I'm doing CrossFit as a performance athlete. Like when
That's what she's burning, just like burning calories, just sitting here.
Just sitting here.
She's burning.
I mean, muscle metabolism is a whole nother thing that we can get into. Yeah. Like your metabolic rate, because of the amount of muscle that you have on you, is going to be so much higher than somebody who's 140 pounds and doesn't have anywhere near the muscle mass on you.
Exactly.
But I thought it was interesting. Like, so we have her dieting now. She's, I think, 134 pounds, and she's eating just shy of 2,000 calories. And she's doing her at-home workouts. I think she has like 95 pounds in a barbell, and she's shredded. Mm-hmm. Like she looks really good.
That's awesome.
It's just, but I don't think people understand like how long it takes to get there.
Yeah.
Right? Like they want it now.
They want it yesterday.
Yeah. And so like, for instance, if I have somebody that comes to me with 1,100 or 1,400 calories, and I'm sure this is the first thing you would do as well, is you reverse them, right? Because you need to get their metabolism functioning so you can diet them at a healthy caloric level.
Yep.
And it just screws with people so much. But how often do you see when you start to reverse people that they get leaner?
Yep, 100% almost every time.
Yeah.
They start dropping. Once they eat more, and they start dropping.
Yeah, it makes you feel like you're a magician.
Yeah.
Like, they're super happy. They're like, oh my God, I'm eating more. And that goes right back to the first thing that you said, is just the consistency, right? And that's part of it is, maybe they were eating less, but then they were binge eating on something else, and they were, they're just up and down with their caloric loads, and now they're having the same caloric content every single day with very similar macros, and their body knows what to expect, so it can react appropriately.
Exactly. There's so many women that they healthy eat, they think they're eating healthy, which is a great first step. But in order to dial it in with physique goals and being shredded, it's about that consistency. And so many women just do like, okay, they probably don't even know it, but they're like, 2,000 calories one day, and then 15,000 calories the next, or 1,500 calories the next day. And then like, it's just all over the board, and their body doesn't know what's going on. There's no consistency to be able to get to the results that they want to.
Do you find that like alcohol is a big issue?
Moderation. I mean, if you're drinking it every single day, then 100%
Yeah.
You're not going to get the results that you want to. But I'm all about balance, and I'm all about, hey, yeah, you can absolutely have a drink on the weekends, but track it.
Yeah. Like, so I don't drink often, but when I do, I usually eat super low carb during the day, right? So that way, if I have a few beers, it doesn't affect me. And then, yeah, of course, you're going to want to eat a little bit of junk when you're drinking, and, you're fine. But what I would notice when I was in college and I was competing is I was stronger on the days I would drink, like after I would drink. So on Wednesday nights, we had this like 7.5 hour class, and we wouldn't get done till 11 o'clock at night. We would all go to the bar afterwards. Thursday was my heavy squat night. And most of the time, I was too hungover. So I would eat, McDonald's around like noon, and I would have some other junk, and then I'd be in the gym by 6, and that's when my squat was its best.
Nice.
Yeah, so like I wonder if there's again, that's binge drinking in college. It's a little bit different, but it makes you wonder if there's a certain amount of stress relief when you're able to consume things that you want to consume. Like, instead of stressing, like if you really like to drink like a couple glasses of wine on a Friday night with your friends, and the stress of you not, having that social drink with them is so high, like, don't you think it's just have the drink and figure it out?
Absolutely.
So that way you can just enjoy it and live your life. And, when you're not thinking about it 24/7, I feel like your results multiply from there.
Yeah, I couldn't agree with you more. It's when people can't have what they want, that's where they fall off. Because when they feel like they're restricted, it's not something that you can stick to. And then that's why they never get where they want to.
And do you, you do a little bit of contest prep? Mm-hmm. Okay, so you have a couple of clients that'll do contest prep, a couple clients for just like recreational dieting. Do you choose like the foods that you want them to eat, or do you do a flexible dieting plan?
Yeah, so I'll put together a sample meal plan for them based off of the foods that they tell me that they like and enjoy. But then I tell them, you don't have to follow this. As long as you are across the board and consistent with your numbers on a daily basis, you can enjoy the foods that you want to enjoy. You can have a piece of chocolate. You can have that glass of wine.
Yeah.
You can have Chick-fil-A. No, all about balance.
But your contest prep people have to be a little bit more strict.
That's a little bit different.
You're managing, I guess, like sodium, where the carb sources are coming. All right. So with contest prep diets, are you... do you venture into other like diet strategies? Like, do you do carb cycling? Do you do like ketogenic diets? Is there anything that's a lot different than what you do for recreational dieting?
Yeah, I would say I don't really focus on like, hey, you got to hit this specific macro. I say like, you got to like, let's keep it super clean. I'll give them just like a meal plan to follow, more chicken, broccoli, rice, but then
like a bro diet, but
exactly.
macro based.
Exactly. Okay. But then like incorporating the cheat meals and the repeats. Like my last contest prep client, we actually did macros, which was pretty impressive. And she kept the foods that she wanted to keep in. She was doing double chocolate at the end of the night. And the last 2 weeks, I was like, dude, you got to have like 3 cheat meals. No joke. Like reversed her into show pretty much. Yeah. She came in so lean and tight.
And you just need to fill her out.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Exactly. And she was like 40, upper 40s. Yeah. So impressive what her body transformed into.
But you're just keeping it like a set macro base and declining it over time.
Yep.
Like you're not doing anything fancy.
Nope. And just going deeper into the caloric deficit.
Yeah. But okay, so like obviously other diet strategies are out there because people have success with them.
Sure.
Like, do you think that people have success with just straight macros like that because they can kind of dictate the intensity of their training more? Like, they go hand in hand, and I feel like people don't necessarily relate the two together.
Oh, sure, absolutely. I mean, the way that I see it is with all the different trends that are out there, they all work. They all work. Yeah. They all get people results. But the way that I look at it is it coupled with the training, especially with strength training and heavy lifting, are you going to be able to do that in something that's restrictive? Do you know what I mean? Like, I don't know. I keto. You need the carbs for the glycemic index, but then your body's shifting into different stores. So there's different things that are out there, and yes, they work. But it's like at the end of the day, the way I look at it is it sustainable? Isn't it maintainable? and something that cuts out carbs or a macronutrient group is not sustainable nor maintainable.
For most people.
For
yeah.
most people, yeah. No, I mean, I think for everybody. That's just my personal, what I see. Like,
So, I mean, I can definitely combat that. Like, I did keto back in 2017.
Yeah,
and I got
you
blood
did.
work done before, during, which was 3 months in, and after 6 months. My blood work got a lot better. Another thing that I don't think a lot of people look into is what's going on with your hormones.
sure, that's definitely a thing that's not looked in at all.
Yeah,
in the majority in the
and
industry.
I don't think it's fair to say that like keto did XYZ, but I was following the same caloric value with a low-fat, high-carb diet for about 6 months prior to getting my blood work done. I got my blood work done and then did keto for 6 months, and my testosterone levels naturally went up 180 points. And as a man, that's a great thing, and it's definitely going to help us put muscle on it, can help with recovery. But I have no idea where my hormones would have been with just a healthy bro diet.
Yeah.
Right. So I can't really compare that same time. I could do that same thing over again for 6 months, but you're 3 years, 4 years later, it's not the same. So you're not really comparing it. So, just from my standpoint, I do find that some of those diets have their benefits, but I don't think like when I think of like getting shredded, like I don't think of doing a ketogenic diet.
Sure.
Like if you want to do it as like a health thing, like maybe you're pre-diabetic and you're super sensitive to like sugars and carbohydrates and stuff like that, and you want to try to do something to save you from having to take insulin, like by all means, like that's what I think ketogenic dieting should be used for.
For sure. But it's marketed out there. You get X result in X amount of time, or this does this fast.
Yeah.
And then to play off of the hormone side of things, all these different things do, especially for women, which I don't think is talked about a lot, do affect our hormones, I think, more than it does for a male. Okay. Especially like intermittent fasting and
what's your take on it? Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I'm right there with you. I have the same conversation at least like 5 times a day with
Dude,
customers.
I tried it when I was in Bali, and I felt like I was going kind of like I felt like my body was eating my muscle, and I was like, dude, this sucks. No, thank you.
So being at the store, we get to see a ton of different people, right? You're dealing with them, whether it's the online store, the in-store, in person, at some of the gyms. And the people that have the largest amount of success with intermittent fasting are typically people that were on no plan to begin with, right? So they had zero structure. They implement intermittent fasting, which cuts out a meal, which may be 30% of their calories, and they lean out over 2 months, and then they stall, and now their metabolism slowed down. But they think that worked for them, and they continue to implement it. And it just, I think it does, for most people, I think it does more damage than it's worth.
Absolutely.
So
100%. I mean, we got on, with the Warrior Babes, we got on this topic on one of our calls, and it was literally like a 30-minute just like going off about intermittent fasting and how it does affect the hormones. And then for us with the lifting and people that lift fasted, which that's another topic, but it's not effective. It's not, again, maintainable nor sustainable, I don't think. But yeah, for the people that it works, sure, they think it works, but we'll see how it carries out for a couple months.
Yeah, I think like one thing that you and I have in common is, my upbringing in like fitness was a performance sport, right? So my goal was to lift XYZ amount of weight, and that's all that mattered. So I ate accordingly. And sometimes that meant eating an entire pizza in a day. It's not because I enjoyed it. It's because I had to keep my weight up.
Sure.
Because I wanted to squat 700 pounds.
Sure.
Right? It's very important to me.
Sure.
But like I've seen you train. I've seen you train as far back as like 2015 in Westchester when we had our store out there. But like you were always soaked when you train. Like sweating, you move fast, you lift hard. I think that has a huge impact on what kind of diet's going to work for you.
Yeah.
Right. So maybe somebody who's more endurance based or vice versa, if they're more like sedentary, maybe something so restrictive as a ketogenic may work well for them, because maybe they don't need the carbohydrates to recover. But like if I'm putting 500, 600, 700 pounds on my back, like,
Yeah,
I need
dude.
to recover.
Yeah,
Like
you
that's
need
that's
those
really
carbs.
important.
Yeah.
And and you could even go as far as just saying limiting yourself in general would be a bad idea for most performance athletes. I think that there's some validity to that as well. But like as far as your diet now, do you follow macros? Like, are you strict with yourself right now?
Yeah. Yep. I'm consistent across the board. I'm doing macros, I'm sitting at 240 carbs, 55 fats, and 130 protein.
Okay, so that's definitely a lot less than last time we had talked.
Yep.
And that has what I would assume everything to do with just the lack of activity right now, with most gyms being closed.
No, I wanted to do a little bit of a cut, see what I could do during this quarantine. Why not challenge myself a little bit? Plus, honestly, like I was at the 350, 400 when I last talked to you before all this stuff hit. And it's hard to, especially during quarantine, what I'm seeing with my clients is like, some of them are at 350, some of them are 400 right now, and they're having a hard time putting in all that food during the day, sedentary levels and exercise going down. So
I'm carb cycling right now.
Yeah.
And I enjoy it. But B, I also like doing different things for data on what
Sure,
I enjoy
absolutely.
doing. Like I do think that everybody should try everything.
Sure.
They can always take away bits and pieces of each diet that work well for them and put something together.
Mm-hmm.
With that being said, my high carb day is only 400 grams of carbs.
What?
Yeah, so it's not that much. I have girls that have dieted close to that. I'm only eating 3,000 calories a day right now, which really isn't that much, and I'll probably kick it up soon.
I was eating near to that before.
I know.
That's crazy.
I know. But that just goes to show you, the difference in metabolism.
Sure, absolutely.
And by all means, when I, this is 3,000 calories, 100% clean. Like, there's no dirty food in there whatsoever. And right now, I think my biggest experiment isn't necessarily in caloric intake, but it's finding foods that digest really well for me.
Yep.
Like I want zero like gas, bloating, discomfort. I want 100% regularity. And what foods are going to get me there?
Mm-hmm.
And I think that that's also really important, because if you're managing caloric intake and you're not managing, foods that are running right through you.
Yep.
Like there's got to be a balance there.
Absolutely, couldn't agree with you more. You got to find the things that are actually going to digest for you and provide you what you need for your body. 100%.
Is there anything out there like that you see that just digests extremely well for you and maybe not like other clients?
I would say the dairy. I'm fine with dairy.
You have no problems with dairy?
No problem with dairy.
God, nobody would want to be in here if I had any dairy in the last 24 hours. It just...
One thing that doesn't, though, is Brussels sprouts or broccoli for me. That's just a no-go.
The high fibrous,
you don't want to be here around me for that.
Yeah, for sure. And are you a big vegetable eater?
Nope. I
No?
do the OptiGreens. That's all I do.
Yeah.
I rely on that heavily.
It's crazy. I'm actually the same way.
Really?
Yeah, I actually don't really eat any vegetables.
No.
Now, mind you, like when I was ketogenic dieting, I would eat 2 trays twice a week. So 2 entire trays of vegetables twice a week.
Jesus.
Because you have to fill your body up. You know,
Yeah.
fat is more dense, and you just needed the no calorie.
Were you
foods.
lifting when you were doing keto?
Mm-hmm.
How did you feel with that?
Were
Were you lifting at the intensity that you normally lift?
Yeah. So energy-wise was phenomenal. It was actually to the point where I would wake up before my alarm every day. Like I felt really good in that aspect. I was just smaller. Like you can't. Like I can't say you can't, because I'm sure somebody can. But I couldn't bulk. I couldn't gain weight on a ketogenic diet.
Yeah.
It just didn't happen.
Yeah, I met somebody in Bali who was doing keto too as well, and he was having the same problem.
Yeah, it's just, obviously calories in, calories out, the whole equation is the most important thing. But I just had a really hard time putting size on. My lifting was still intense. I didn't really lose any strength at all. But it just wasn't going anywhere, right? So the lifts, the numbers was very stagnant, but, I felt pretty good.
Interesting.
You gonna try it?
Nope.
Get your blood work done and see.
I don't know. I've heard such horror stories, and
Yeah, my biggest gripe with keto, I think, is all the marketing behind it. So what?
I believe it is. If you like you were saying earlier, the diet, like being diabetic, and if it's gonna work and help you, 100%, 100%.
The other thing is like, with the supplement side of things, I really didn't take any when I did keto. I own a supplement store, but I didn't take any supplements. My protein was low; it was only at 180 grams. My fat was at 340. So my fat was really high.
Holy, what were you doing to get that kind of fat in there?
Yeah. Everything I could. And, it's
like
just
downing olive oil.
No, but so the vegetables, I would cover the vegetables in olive oil.
Okay.
But I would also cook them in butter. Right? So like you're doubling up on fats that way. What was really interesting is my diet didn't change that much from the 3-month to the 6-month mark. The only thing I stopped doing was doing added cheeses, like added fats that way, right? And cheese was the big one. So when I got rid of the cheese and I started doing more whole eggs to get in my fat, and more like walnuts and pecans and different fat sources that way, that's when my blood work went all to green. So I honestly, I can't really attribute my blood work to being so good due to keto, but maybe rather the food choices that I was making.
Sure, absolutely. So I think that hands down definitely has to do with it. I've heard people come out of it and they're like cholesterol's through the roof, and their blood work is terrible, moving the opposite direction of where it was before.
But there's a right way and a wrong way.
Absolutely.
Like if you're going
you can't go fucking have cheeseburgers at McDonald's to get your fats in.
Yeah.
You gotta have the healthy options.
Yeah, and like if you think about it, if you're eating salmon and veggies and chicken and veggies and some organic grass-fed beef and some veggies, like there's no way your blood work's going to be worse after doing that. You're making better choices. Now if you're eating cheese sticks as like a snack, like you're an asshole. Like you deserve to have bad blood work. Like you're not understanding the concept of being healthy.
Absolutely.
What's next for you on the bodybuilding platform?
Boy, oh boy. I don't know. I don't know if I'll compete again.
Yeah.
Maybe. I always have those like days where like, especially when I look at my pictures now and I'm like, I can do it. I'm kind of stage ready. Give me like 2 months, I could really come in. Maybe I'll come back in 2021 and defend the title.
You always know when like a bodybuilder is going to commit to competing because they'll start doing like the throwbacks and posting like their stage pictures.
So you're saying I'm going to do it?
No, I'm saying have you been?
Yeah.
I didn't look yet. Yeah, so it's definitely been on your mind, and that's what you think about, and now you're going to do it. Yeah, you've just told the world.
Hey, the person that won in 2019 won last year. She'd be a good run-up. Yeah. So that was one thing too. Like, in my competitive years, I didn't really feel like I had. And that sounds so freaking vain, but like, good people to go up against, the competition. But 2019, the winner of the Orion was mature muscle, a little bit older.
Yeah.
Came dialed in.
Yeah. Like if you're not at your absolute best, like you're going to get beat.
Yeah, exactly.
That's how it should be.
That's absolutely how it should be.
When I competed in powerlifting, I had the option of being in the collegiate class, the junior, or I can compete in open. I picked open every time. Like I want to compete against people that are older and better. How else do you get better? I don't want a first place trophy. Like I want to fight for it.
Exactly. So. Exactly. That's what I want. If I mean that's what's hard with competitions, because you don't know who you're going to go up against, but if it's going to be a good lineup, I'll probably do it.
So what about like Warrior Babe? Like what are you doing right now, and what are your plans for that in the future?
I joke about this. I want it not on the network marketing side of things, but I want to get huge, bigger than Beachbody. I'm very future-based thinking. But right now, we've got 5,000 members, helping women just become a stronger, more confident version of themselves.
5,000 members. Wow.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah. Just growing, just wanting to preach what I believe in and preach, where I've come from in the last 5 years, and helping women see that it is possible for them too, and it's possible to maintain it and enjoy the foods that they're eating instead of being afraid of the foods, and then lift like a beast. Warrior Babe's been backed up as a badass community and a badass tribe of women, so I see it continuing to grow.
When are you going to coach men? You need to. People would pay. Like, people would absolutely pay for you to coach them.
Yeah, maybe there'll be like a warrior dude or something.
Yeah, warrior
down
dudes.
the line.
It works.
Warrior dudes.
But
We'll
as society continues to merge, and I think men are having the same issues that women are having. Like, they're afraid to eat.
Sure.
They're afraid to train hard. Obviously, if they have an athletic background, it might be a little bit different. But, there's definitely a market for what you're doing for men. That's for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. Maybe one day, we'll see. Kick some guys in the gear.
Yeah.
Kick their ass. Yeah.
So the last thing I really wanted to kind of dive in, obviously we're a supplement store. We sell supplements. We don't make any of our own supplements. But as far as supplementation goes, I think you're the pinnacle of consistency. Probably very similar to your food choices, right? Like, you've probably been eating oatmeal for 6 years since you started, right? You've
Oatmeal,
protein powder. Yeah. So but every time your orders come through, like, we know what they are. It's actually so consistent that, like, if one of your clients orders, like, they don't need to put anything down, and we're like, oh, this is Nikki's client. Like, we know.
That's awesome.
So can you do us a favor and kind of like dive through the 4 to 5 things that you order every single month?
Yeah, absolutely. So it's always going to be the protein powder. Whether it's Rule 1, which was my go-to for the longest time, or now All Max is one of my favorites. It's going to be the super carb, just a super easy way from NutriBio's, super easy way to get in the carbs post-training, especially if your carb numbers are high. And what else do I do? Intrablast. That has been a game changer.
I see you posting about that a lot.
Yeah, that's been a game changer.
That's been one of our best-selling products for 5 years now.
Wow. Yeah, I just started using it with the past year.
Whoops.
It's always been protein and super carb. That's always been my go-to.
Well, it kind of has like your favorite things in it. It has electrolytes.
Yep.
And it has your amino acids, and it has glutamine in there, which you're also pretty big on.
Mm-hmm. Yep, that's another thing I just ordered.
Yeah.
You guys just needed to re-up on my glutamine. What would I say would be another one? OptiGreens lately.
OptiGreens, and I think the last one was ZMA.
ZMA, yeah. And I promote that within the community too as well with Warrior Babe. They love the ZMA.
It's so cheap. Like, there's just no reason for anybody not to take it. Yeah.
Super effective.
You sleep like a baby.
Yeah, and you don't wake up with the drowsiness. You wake up, feeling refreshed and ready to go.
Yeah, rejuvenated for sure. And a 60-day supply is like $25. Like, who wouldn't pay for that?
Yeah.
It just, actually I think for women it's a 90-day supply. Because men take more caps.
Men
so,
take 3, we take
$25 for 90 days of decent sleep. Yeah, I'll pay for that 3 times over.
Dude, seriously. Like, that's one thing that too is underrated inside, or not talked about a lot, is sleep inside the industry, and that the women inside of my community get terrible sleep. A lot of them do. And I'm like, dude, go get the ZMA, like, now.
People don't realize, like, how much sleep affects things. Like, obviously, it's the only thing that resets your cortisol levels, right? So you can try to blunt it through foods and stuff, but ultimately, sleep is going to do it faster.
Yep.
It's directly correlated with your gut health.
Yep.
You're not digesting food well. Well, look at your sleep.
Yep.
And then you can go into caffeine intake and all that too, and we can, keep diving down that path. But
yeah.
Cool.
So I would say those are my, 5 supplements: super carb, protein powder, Intrablast, glutamine, and definitely the OptiGreens lately. Been a lifesaver.
Are you using super carb like as a specific purpose, or do you use it like flexibly? Like, if you're low on carbs, would you mix like a protein with a super carb, or would you just
Specifically, I'm just doing it post-workout.
Okay.
Usually 2 scoops just to get those carbs up.
But they digest like real easily, right? Like, you don't have any bloating or anything.
It's amazing. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I'm ready to eat within like an hour.
So the first like company that really brought that product to the market was Gaspari back in like 2000, I don't know, maybe 13. So when the rep came to our store and he's like, here's a tub, try it yourself. That's when our store was in the gym. So that day I went over and trained. Mm-hmm. And my normal training sessions at that time were about an hour and 15. I went an hour and 45. And I felt absolutely awesome.
Yeah.
So like ever since, I've been sold on that. And there's always a tub of it at our house.
Yeah.
Like, it's forever there.
Yep.
So
The bomb. Yeah, it's so good.
So where can customers follow you, find you, contact you, all that?
Instagram. Guys, come hang out with me on Instagram. Nikkiey Stott.
Not TikTok?
No, my TikTok game's not that great. I started it and didn't keep up.
But if they're interested in your plans, your programs, maybe even just a consultation, do you do that kind of stuff?
Yeah.
They can just contact you on Instagram. That's the easiest way.
They want to check out programs. warriorbabe.com will be the best spot to check that out. But if you guys want to inquire about like my one-on-one coaching, which is the VIP, the best would be to do that through Instagram.
Cool.
Yeah.
There you have it, guys. Go follow Nikki. She's been a long time, customer and athlete of ours, and she's doing some pretty good things, even though 5 years ago I told her not to do.